Hi all, this is Vetri Natarajan. I'm one of the QuickSight solution architect, and today welcome you all to the Amazon QuickSight learning series. This is the series where uh, we have where you will learn more about the product functionality or any new feature launches or the best practices and tips on how to improve your user experience and some gain some technical knowledges from the QuickSight solution architects or product managers here. So in this session today, we are going to talk about how you can manage multiple environments, say development, prod, or QA environment within your single QuickSight account, and what you can benefit by applying some of the best practices and implementing some of the QuickSight features. With me, I have Karthik Dharmarajan as well as Christine. So,
Sorry, I had some connection issues. Apologies for that. Yeah, Hi, this is Karthik. I'm a senior QuickSight Solutions Architect, if you can still hear me okay. We also have Christine. I'll pass it over to Christine for her quick introduction.
Hey everyone, welcome. It's so great to see you here. And just wanted to introduce myself. Many of you know me, the community manager for Amazon QuickSight. And I just wanted to take a minute to walk through the community. The community is our one-stop shop for learning. And you can see this is a glimpse of what the homepage of the community looks like. Okay. And then here you can see a little bit of a deep dive of your BI journey on the community. So we have a toolbar that includes Demo Central. It's got our developer portal and also documentation. We've got searchable Q&A where we have thousands of questions there for you that you can ask questions, you can reply to questions, and you can start by searching to see if the answers are already provided to some of the questions that you have. We also have a learning center. In the learning center, you can upskill your QuickSight skills with how-to videos, webinars, articles and resources. And we have the What's New blog section where you can get the latest product updates and announcements. In addition, we've got events, so you'll be hearing more about some of our events later, but we'd love to have you join us for events like the ones today, and we have many weekly and monthly events ongoing at this point. And then lastly, we have featured content, so it's a great way to see what we're highlighting in a given month. Okay. Great. And so we already covered some of this, but you can scan this QR code to join the community. We would encourage you to join. Again, we have this session that we're doing today. The online learning series is weekly, so you can join us every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time or Thursday at 10 a.m. CEST, CET. And also, if you are interested in helping us pioneer in the community by getting recognized as an expert who is a top question answerer, or writing an article on the community, or perhaps even helping pioneer a user group, I would love to connect with you. So I'll put my email in the chat and you can connect with me there. All right, thanks. Back to you, Karthik.
Great. Thanks, Kristen. Really appreciate it. And just to further expand on the community topic, and just to get you all used to utilizing the community, we propose, directing any questions based off of today's webinar from the community itself. So we will take all the questions from community. Like Kristen mentioned, if you're not already registered, you can use the community.QuickSight, AmazonQuickSight.com URL, or scan the QR code. Moving on to the next slide here. Another important aspect I would like to highlight is when you initiate questions as part of today's webinar, please ensure you tag it with the hashtag QLS-multi/ENB, short form for environment. I'm going to quickly share my screen, and for folks who are not familiar with the QuickSight community, I'm going to walk you through how to create the question and also tag it appropriately, so it gets prioritized appropriately. So let me take over the screen share here real quick. All right, assuming you're seeing my screen now. So what you're seeing here is our landing page for Amazon QuickSight. And once you register, this is the page you'll be greeted with. I'm just going to scroll down a little bit so you can see a few tiles here. So the first one, which says question and answer, go ahead and click on it. So that's where you would initiate asking questions. And you'll already see a list of questions that's being populated here. Let me just refresh my screen here real quick. Going back to the home page, clicking on question and answer tile from the home page. So you should be seeing the screen and this blue button here on top which says new question. Clicking on it will give you the options to key in the question with the title. I'm just gonna call this folder access. I'm not going to submit this question, but I would like to highlight that once you give a title, please ensure you look for the tag. In our case, it's QLS-multi/env. Tag it appropriately and then type in your question, give some description, and then choose new question button at the bottom and it will get submitted and prioritized appropriately. Cool. With that said, let's jump back into our presentation here. All right, yeah. So today's session certainly will be recorded and you'll have access to that by end of this week. You'll have a copy of it uploaded on our community website, and also as part of our QuickSight YouTube channel, you should also find it there. All of our prior recordings also can be found on both the platforms. All right, with all that discussed, let's move on to what we are trying to focus on today's webinar. So we'll start off by defining the use case for today's presentation, and then I'll provide a very high-level solution overview for our use case, followed by Vetri's demo. So for today, what we'll try to cover is, from a QuickSight administrator perspective, if you'd like to manage multiple environments, that is your development, your QA and production from a single instance of QuickSight, how would you go about doing it? And also you'd like to, ensure the different environments like development, QA and business environments or the production environments are provisioned to appropriate users, meaning as a developer, I should have access only to the development environment, and as a production user only to production, so on and so forth. Additionally, we also want to ensure the assets are isolated in their respective environments, so we don't accidentally share what's in development into the QA environment or in production, right? We certainly don't want to do that. And finally, from an administration perspective, we want to have a seamless deployment experience to move these assets from, say, a lower environment to a higher environment, right? So with all these in mind, let's see how we can put together a solution with the available features in QuickSight. So there are three key features that we will be using to implement the solution. First and foremost, we are going to leverage the folders feature within QuickSight. We also need the groups, which will help us permission content. And finally, the QuickSight API. So the APIs that we'll use for managing assets or data resources, those APIs will be used to move content from one environment to another environment. Now with these features, we have just tried to pictorially depict how this implementation will look. So what you're seeing on the right is a depiction of what we're trying to implement today. Also, you'll see that in the demo. There are three swim lanes here. Starting off from the left is the dev environment, right? In the center is the QA, and all the way to the right is the production environment, right? Each environment is isolated by using folder concept within QuickSight. So you can see there are respective folders for each of the environments. And we also have created dedicated groups. So we'll have a developer group, a QA group, and a production or a business readers group. So these groups will have explicit access on the respective environments, right? Now shifting focus all the way to the bottom here, you can see as an admin, who's controlling the QuickSight account has access across all these environments or folders, right? Because we are the ones who are going to facilitate this migration or deployment. Now, from a developer standpoint, once you are provided access to the developer group, you will obviously see only the dev folder or the dev environment, and you'll be given complete access, or rather full access, to this environment, because you'll be creating content, moving stuff into this folder, so on and so forth. So you need complete access to this environment. However, as a QA user or a reader who's part of the QA group, you will have access only to the QA folder or the environment with read-only access. So anything that's being promoted from dev into QA, you will have read access to those content. You can do your testing and then share feedback, go about with your work as you would normally do. And finally, as a production user, you will have access only to the production environment as intended, and anything that gets finally moved on to this folder or environment, you will only get to see or access content which is part of this folder. All right, moving on. So for today's demo, just wanted to highlight what our porting sequence will be. We are going to focus on 3 assets: dataset, analysis, and dashboard. But in real world, we'll have like multiple other assets as well. For example, themes and data sources. In the interest of time, we are not covering those aspects. Later, towards the tail end of the demo, Vitri will also share some upcoming features and API functionalities, which will, eventually ease out the whole process of migration. But for today's demo, we'll start off with the data set. What you see on the left is the source environment. So we start off with the data set and replicate that in our target environment. The reason we start off the data set is logical, because when we move on to the next step and try to migrate analysis, it needs to be hooked on to the underlying data set. So we need to have a reference of the data set in the target. So that's why we start off with the data set. And then we move to the analysis. If you are still seeing my screen on the left-hand side, we'll take a copy of the analysis as a template, powered by our APIs, and we'll move a copy of that template into target environment. And from that copy template, what we will do is we'll create an analysis and also optionally create a dashboard, which in turn will be hooked to the data set that we migrated as part of step 1. So this is a very high level, steps involved. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Vetri so he can actually show this in working.
So as Karthik mentioned, here you can see there are 3 environments that we are going to use for this particular demo. And just want to confirm that I'm logged in as an administrator. So as an administrator, I should have access to all these environments for me to be able to deploy the dashboard and also verify if the deployment has worked well, right? So here, each of these folders represent a particular environment. And as an admin, I have access to all. But if you look at the dev folder and see the access, this is accessible only by the dev team, and they have full access, which means that they can add resources into it or remove the resources from that. So this helps the developer to have full control on the dev environment where they want to work on. And similarly, the production environment will be accessible only by the admins and the business team. And here, if you look at the business team, they are primarily the readers. So they do not have an owner access, but rather a viewer access. So they will be able to consume any dashboards that is put in that particular environment. So similarly, we also have for the QA is accessible only by the quality assurance team for them to validate any dashboards that are promoted into the QA environment before it moves to the production. So, but if you look at this environment altogether, as of now, it is empty. So we need to start this entire deployment process with a developer who has certain assets, say for example, a dashboard and a dataset ready to be promoted into the QA or the testing environment. So I'm going to switch to another login, which is the developer login. So this is the developer login, and just to show that you can check the username. It's a dev user that we have created. And this dev user is again an author who will be able to create data sets or create an analysis or a dashboard and then publish it and share it with other users as well. So here, as expected, the dev development team has access only to the dev environment. So under the shared folders, I'm able to see only the dev folder. And if you look at this, there are no assets right now. So I'm going to go ahead and add one of the analysis into that folder. Say, assume that this is the analysis that is ready to be tested by your quality assurance team. So just to see this is the analysis that we are going to deploy into QA environment. And this analysis uses a particular data set, the dev business review data set. So I'm going to add both this analysis as well as the data set into the shared folder. So first I'm going to go ahead and add this analysis into the folder. Share. And then I'm going to go ahead to the data set and I'm going to add this data set to the folder. So what I have done now is that I have put an analysis and a data set that needs to go in as part of the deployment. Now that it is available in the in the dev folder, I'm going to switch back to the admin screen. And in order to deploy the assets that is present in the dev environment into the QA environment, I have to run a script. This script basically is using a set of QuickSight APIs to create a new dataset and analysis and also publish a dashboard as part of the deployment process. So here you can see I'm going to deploy a dataset from dev environment to QA environment. And for this demo purpose, we are just triggering this Lambda manually, but in real world, you would have some automated way of calling this Lambda or the set of APIs to deploy the analysis and the datasets. So now this is successful. The dataset is deployed successfully. And now I will go ahead and deploy the analysis as well. The reason why we do it separately is if you are going to deploy an analysis or a dashboard without without the dependent data set already in the environment, then it would fail. The deployment would fail. So that is the reason why we have deployed the data set first, and now we are deploying the analysis. And also what I'm going to do is that optionally, I'm also deploying a dashboard based out of that analysis. Because as an end user, either your QA user or the business users won't be able to access an analysis. They will be able to access only the dashboard. So I'm deploying a dashboard as well. So this run is successful now. Let me go ahead and verify this as an administrator. I'm going to the QA folder and I see that the analysis is deployed, the dataset is deployed, and the dashboard is also deployed. And if you look at the analysis, it is pointing to the QA business review dataset. So this way, we make sure that we isolate each environment so that the assets within an environment doesn't refer to an asset from another environment. So each environment is self-sustained to make sure that they work irrespective of whether the other environment is available or anything changed in the the lower environment. Okay. So now I need to access this deployed data dashboard as a QA user to validate this dashboard. So I'm going to switch to another login. So this login, as you can see, I'm logged in as a QA user, and I'm going to refresh this page, and I see only one dashboard which is deployed into my QA environment. And you can also go through the shared folders, and you can see I'm able to see only the QA folder here. So irrespective of how you access it, it is going to go to the same dashboard. I'm accessing it here. So what you see here is basically the dashboard that got deployed from the analysis. Now, as part of the overall process, you might have some changes done to the dashboard that got deployed into the QA environment. Say, for example, I now need to remove this particular visual in the dev environment and propagate that change back into the QA environment. So I'm going to go back as a developer. So here I'm logged in as a developer and click on the analysis and remove this visual completely and expand this visual. So remember, I'm doing this change in the dev environment. So dev business review analysis. This is where I'm making this change. And I don't have to do anything else because I have the autosave on. So all the changes are captured automatically. So now that change is done, I'm going to deploy this as an admin. So here I'm logged in as an admin and I'm going to deploy this change one more time. So I'm going to run this the dev to QA analysis script again. But what happens this time is that instead of creating any new analysis, the script would basically update the existing analysis in your QA environment as well as the existing dashboard, right? So that you don't necessarily change the ID of the dashboard that is deployed already, because in real world scenario, you would be probably sharing this the entire dashboard ID or the whole URL to any of in any of the to any of your end users, or be embedded within any of your web applications, right? So this makes sure that the analysis or the dashboards doesn't change the IDs whenever you are updating that analysis or the dashboard. So now the run is successful. I'm going to go back as a QA user, and this is a QA dashboard, and I'm logged in as a QA user. So I'm going to just refresh the dashboard, and you should see the change is reflecting here. So this way, you make sure that your changes are always done in your dev environment and properly follows the procedure to move to the QA environment where it is validated. And now, assume that this is done. You have validated your dashboard and it is working fine. So now you want to just move, promote this into the production environment. So you would still follow the same procedure. But in this case, instead of moving the dashboard from dev environment to prod, you are actually going to move it from your QA environment. So this is how you maintain the sequence and the order of promotion as well. So now I'm going to flip to a script where I'm going to move the dataset first from QA to prod. So this way, if there are any other changes that are happening in your dev environment, that is not going to impact the production movement, because we are always going from QA onto prod. So now this run is successful for the datasets, and I'm going to run again the QA to prod analysis and the dashboard. So as Karthik mentioned, at this point, we are using set of APIs that deploys each of these analysis datasets individually. And there are also other dependencies that you may have in real world, like the themes and the data sources. So we are currently working on set of APIs, new set of APIs that helps you to pick up a dashboard and all its dependencies and deploy it in a new environment seamlessly and with very little API calls. So we'll keep you updated whenever those APIs are available. So at this point, yeah, the deployment has happened successfully. And if you look at the shared folder and go to production, you see production, it is deployed. All of these are deployed. So, so this is how you promote from one environment to another with using the QuickSight APIs. And all of this can be managed. All of this environment can be managed using folders and groups within the same or single QuickSight environment. So that concludes our demo for today. So with that, I will share some of the resources that we will have. that could be useful for you. So these documentations, you can visit them in our AWS documentation page. The APIs to control the QuickSight assets or the data resources, that will tell you what are all the underlying API calls that are being used in the demo that we had today. And you can also reach out to us through the QuickSight community and ask questions, and we will be happy to have those things answered. With this, I will hand it over to Christine to talk about the upcoming events. Christine, over to you.
Thanks, Vetri. Okay, so we have some exciting events coming up. This coming week, we have the next session in our learning series, which is on Embed QuickSight in Salesforce. So as per usual, you can join us on Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time or Thursday at 10 a.m. CET. So we'll hope to see you there. And we've got a bunch of other events as well. So this Friday, actually, we have the PartnerCast series. This is a monthly First Fridays series, and it's free. The topic this Friday is map visual and visual asset management. And as part of this series, the team is going over a new feature every month. So we hope you can join us for that, 8:30 a.m. or 17:30 CET. In addition, we have new the QuickSight Author Immersion Day now available online. So this is a new exciting opportunity. It's a deep dive into the authoring experience. You can join us for that on Wednesday, April 12th from 9:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And this will be occurring the second Wednesdays of every month. And then last but not least, we have a user group that we are piloting, a virtual user group on Wednesday, April 19th, that will be directly following the learning series webinar that day. So register for the webinar, and then if you're interested, stay after. We'd love to have you join us for that user group. I am putting all of those events in the chat right here so that you have access to them. And then also, if you have any feedback on user groups and what you would love to see, we have created a place for you to post your ideas in the community about user groups, and we'd love to hear from you. So do let us know. Okay.
Thank you all.
Go ahead, Vetri.
Yeah, thank you all for your time today. And as Christian mentioned, yeah, please provide us your feedback and stay connected with us through the community, QuickSight community. Thank you.